What is going on, guys? Pat in the shop, and tonight we're talking small block Ford heads. But don't you Chevy guys click away just yet, because we need to talk about this brand and how killer these heads are, and we're gonna probably have to get some Chevy versions coming up. Let's check it out. So you Ford guys might be excited to find out that I'm going to be doing a 347 stroker build this winter for a customer for his Mustang. And I took the opportunity that I wanted to try these Promaxx 185cc heads. These are the Project X Promaxx heads. They're a 202 valve, 1.6 exhaust valve, 58cc chamber, I believe, 58 or 59cc chamber. But what intrigued me was the flow numbers, the advertised flow numbers for a 185cc head. And when you're looking at almost 300 CFM out of a head that's only 185 cc's runner, that's pretty impressive. You start to make you kind of question things. First thing I question is, did they flow this on some sort of crazy bore size? Is it actually 185 cc's, or is that what they just call it? So I thought, you know what, we're gonna buy a set of these heads for this customer. We're gonna get and we're gonna actually get them on the flow bench, take a look at them, and see what I think of Promaxx. And it turns out I've been sleeping on this company, and I really should be checking them out. Let's get a little closer, and I'll show you what we got going on. Like I said before, we got a 202 intake valve, 1.6 exhaust. We got a nice radius valve job on the exhaust, and a 5-angle valve job on the intake. The head itself, the casting looks really good. From what I understand, this is an offshore casting, but all the machine work and assembly and everything is done in the States. The machine work and everything I've seen so far, I'm really impressed with. I've found no, sometimes some of these heads you get, I've noticed with the Brodex and stuff, you take them out of the bag and there's metal filings everywhere. I've seen nothing yet, nothing that he would even tell me that you couldn't just bolt these onto your engine right away. So I'm really impressed. We take a look at the intake port here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera here. I might have to move this, but when we take a look at this intake port, we can see there's some hand blending going on here, which is nice to see, and really nice. This is an as-cast head. There's no CNC work here. This is really nice setup. I had this set up ordered with the hydraulic roller valve springs, which have about 140 on the seat. I've checked a few of the valve springs already. Everything seems to be bang on. They have spring locators, which is nice, and really nice retainers. Looks like a Pack Racing spring. So far, very impressed. Installed heights have been really good. Nothing, like I said, that would make me be worried about bolting this on the head without disassembly. These heads I'm super impressed with. The only thing that kind of surprised me, and I'm not sure if you can pick it up in the camera, I have some bluing on this valve right now, but there was no back cut. So typically you have your main sealing surface, and then you'll have a back cut on the valve. I was expecting to see a back cut, and there wasn't. The thing with back cuts is under 500 lift, they help quite a bit, especially the 200-300 lift, and I'll put a graph up because I did end up back cutting this valve. But what they don't look good for is when you're trying to see really high peak flow, which everyone talks about, how peak flow numbers. So if a company's trying to show really good peak flow, a back cut isn't always your best bet, because you'll lose. I think we lost about 10 CFM, maybe a little less, with the back cut of peak flow, but under 500 lift, we picked up flow. So I'm going to probably go ahead. I am going to go ahead and back cut the rest of these valves. I just want to do some testing, but definitely a worthwhile thing. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But other than that, these heads, very, very impressed with them, and everything looks really, really good. Good. If you order them from Promaxx, you can get 7/16 studs, which aren't that much more. I think it's like 20 bucks or something like that. From my supplier, they weren't available with the 7/16, only the 3/8, but they offered me a set of ARP at a discount, so I'm going to swap those to 7/16. But if you're going to get them from Promaxx, just go ahead and order the stud 7/16 if you're ordering rocker arms too. Has spring locators. This is the 600 lift hydraulic roller springs. Everything looks really nice on them. They got the cool Project X logo on the end. Looks really, really sharp. No extra slag like you see sometimes in the ports and stuff. And you can see it's not like they went through and cleaned that up. But the part that makes you feel good is that they put good hardware and they're assembled in the States, and the machine work's done in the States from what I understand. So I think this is a brand that I need to use more. I think I'm gonna have to get some small block Chevy heads coming up and try them out and see what kind of results we can get on a 383 stroker, street build, because these are quite an impressive head. Let's take a look at the flow numbers and see what you guys think. Okay, so flow numbers, let's take a look at the chart here. I'll show you in printout, and we can graph it out as well. We're gonna show you stock flow numbers on the intake. Take a look at that 300, 400 range. 178 at 300, 231 at 400, 268.7, 5, 600, 274, 285 at 700, and at 750 the retainer hit the seal. That's as far as it can go, and it was 291. That was completely stock without anything touched. That's on a 4L30 bore. This is impressive. If you think at 185cc runner, this is quite the flow number to see. This is what you'd kind of expect from something like around a 215cc runner. Let's take a look at the exhaust. Pretty typical, I would say. Peak flow around 188, which is not bad, which is pretty decent. I decided to back cut the valve. Let me show you on the intake what it looks like with the back cut valve. So this is a 45 thou back cut on the valve. And you'll see that it picks up flow under 500 lift or so, under 400 lift, but it will hurt flow slightly up top. So let's take a look at that. 300, we pick up almost 10 CFM, 200, about 8 CFM. And then after about 500, 450, 500 lift, we start to actually lose slight flow. Peak flow, we lose about 10 CFM, of a little under about 9 CFM of peak flow. The trade-off is that flow under the curve of the lift of the valve. But on a running engine, it would be neat to do a back-to-back test on this, but I'm going to go ahead and back cut all the valves because I believe that this is the right move for this kind of street combination. Peak flow numbers are great for advertising, but those lower lift flow numbers seem to help when you're actually on a running engine. So we're going to go ahead and back cut all the valves. So what do you guys think of these small block Ford heads? Pretty impressive, you asked me, 185cc runner. And that's the question that someone's gonna ask. Are they actually 185 cc's? Well, guess what? I CC'd them and they are. They're 186 actually, but I might have lost the CC when I was checking them, but they're right as advertised. So we are dealing with a high velocity, high flowing port here, which should result in some really good power on this upcoming 347 stroker. I think I'm gonna have to look into getting some small block Chevy heads for a 383 stroker we're doing, and then compare that to something similar, maybe an AFR Enforcer or something along those lines, in the same 383 stroker build, like a street build, nothing crazy race or anything like that. I am impressed with these heads right out of the box. Nothing that really kind of turned me off about them. Other than they are an offshore casting, which unfortunately that's a lot of heads nowadays, but they do not seem like an offshore casting. These are, again, assembled in the USA, and obviously there's some good quality control here and some really good checks on these heads. So I'm really impressed with my first impression with Promaxx heads. So we're going to definitely be getting some more of these, and we'll have to check them out. So do me a favor, if you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that like button, and comment below if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.